course of the evening. But the reason I do raise this, and I rejoice in your disposition to argue the Vietnam question, especially when I recognize what an act of self-control this must involve.
It does.
Sure.
It really does.
Sure.
I mean, I think that this is the kind of issue where... You're doing very well. Sometimes I lose my temper. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tonight. Because if you would, I'd smash you in the goddamn face. You say in your book... Good reason for not losing my temper. You say the war is simply an obscenity, a depraved act by weak and miserable men. Including all of us. Including myself. Well, including that's the next sentence. Same sentence. Sure, because you count everybody in the company of the guilty. I think that's true in this case. Yeah, but see, one of the points I was trying... This is a sense of theological observation, isn't it? No, I don't think so. Because as somebody points out, if everybody's guilty of everything, then nobody's guilty of anything. No, I don't. Well, no, I don't believe that. See, I think the point that I'm trying to make, and I think ought to be made, is that the real, at least to me, I say this elsewhere in the book, what seems to me a very, in a sense, terrifying aspect of our society and other societies is the equanimity and the detachment with which sane, reasonable, sensible people can observe such events. I think that's more terrifying than the occasional Hitler or LeMay or other that crops up. These people would not be able to operate were it not for this apathy and equanimity. And therefore I think that it's, in some sense, the sane and reasonable and tolerant people who share a very serious burden of guilt that they very easily throw on the shoulders of others who seem more extreme and more violent. No, I agree, but surely the emotional temperature of yourself or of myself or of other people is not in and of itself an index, an automatic index to the righteousness of our emotions. Certainly not. As I wouldn't mean it to be intended. People were approximately equally wrought up in the late 30s over whether or not America should help the Western powers to defend themselves against the Axis powers. And I think it is incorrect to suppose that people of either side were necessarily right simply because they were exercised. Oh, I'd agree with that totally. Yeah. There's no connection whatsoever between degree of emotion and degree of correctness. But as you understand the existing situation, it ought to be, in your judgment, a transparently evil thing that we are engaged in, and you are derivatively concerned because there isn't because there is not a shared sense of indignation like your own. Now, I don't say that I am right because I am indignant. Rather, I say that I think in this case I am right to be indignant, which is different. I have to prove that. You are right to be indignant if you are right. That's right, and that has to be demonstrated. That's why that has to be demonstrated, which is why dozens of pages of argument about it, which may or may not convince people, convinces me. Yeah. Sure. But I agree.